Base is dropped on Thursday Thoughts here on Soccer's Morning Show. And because the show is so stacked, I can't waste any time. I'm in the mountains. I'm in a second house in 3 days. Everything is fine. And hanging out with us, Carlos Rubio, after how late of a night was it for you last night with a win? How late of a night was it, Carlos? There he is.
There we go. I think progress of the life.
No worries. How late of a night was it for you last night?
What's that, sorry?
How late of a night was it for you?
Hasn't finished yet, John. The night hasn't finished. It's just we went from the moon to the sun, but it's still in the same place.
And you get the win last night in the opening round of the NPSL Conference semifinals in the Southeast. We've talked about how heavy it is and how crowded it is and how competitive it is. Break down the match last night for those that didn't get the chance to see it.
Just a fantastic environment. Just another great night of soccer here in Hickory. Really two good teams going at each other. From the start, you could tell that there was a lot to play for. Both teams took about 5 to 10 minutes to get into the swing of things. I think the context played a big factor of that. But after that, the boys got a grip of the game. We played really well, probably one of the best games of the season so far, and dominated for most of it. But congrats to Apotheos. They play a great game of soccer. Working, trying to come back in the game. So, yes, a testament to their coach. And
this is what happens when you're in the mountains. When both of us are in the mountains. I know it's a testament to Apotheos, absolutely. So, with everything that has gone on this season, let me ask you this. Has there been for those that may not have been a part of previous conversations, is there a player or players that have been pleasant surprises for you, or what has been the most pleasant surprise this season about what you've gone through?
In terms of players, to be quite frank, there has not been many surprises because we knew exactly what we were getting, and we were very thorough with the guys that we were bringing in, making sure that they were the right characters for what we're trying to build as a club. And then obviously as players, we've seen most of them, if not all, play live before bringing them here. So we had a fairly good idea of what we were going to get in terms of players. But what it's been the most enjoyable, pleasant, and it made every day just a joy, is the camaraderie that we were able to build from day one. The boys have got together as a unit, as a band of brothers. They've been fighting ups and downs, no any issue, no lacks of desire, togetherness. So that's what we've been very, very pleased with. It's just the level of togetherness that has been around the team since day one.
How difficult is it knowing that you play in the midweek and then you have to play again on the weekend? How difficult a turnaround is that going to be?
Yeah, it's challenging. Obviously, bodies are tired, little knocks here and there, but at the end of the day, we're all in the same boat. And I mean, when you get to this stage, in the context itself, and especially on Saturday, playing for a trophy, that push you over the line. So obviously, boys are gonna need a couple of days to recover, but I got no doubt that when it gets to Saturday, they're gonna have 100% energy, desire, and fight to bring that trophy home.
Carlos Rubio, head coach of Hickory FC, joining us bright and early as we can see blue skies hanging out there as Hickory's getting ready for their matchup against Appalachian FC on the weekend for the NPSL Southeast Conference Championship. You mentioned rest and recovery. What about for coaches? How difficult is it for coaches in this situation to have a quick turn and study and be prepared and not get bogged down by the pressure? And, you know, maybe is it all universal? Is it just coffee IVs now? I mean, how does this work?
I think it's more difficult for our families than for us, because in the next 48 hours we're gonna be pretty busy. But at the end of the day, this is why we do it. This is what we love. Obviously, we know App. We play them twice. Know Dale Parker really well, a really well coached team. It's gonna be another fantastic night. So the next 48 hours is just more on us, more on how we prepare the game. We know what App is gonna bring, and it's how we can prepare best ourselves. So we are as ready as possible for Saturday night. So a lot of film on us, couple things on App, but yeah, the focus is completely on Hickory FC.
There are times when App FC they want to grind this down. They want to be physical. They want to make sure that you're the one making the mistakes. They want to turn this into what, when we were kids, we used to have the staring contests to figure out who would blink first. A lot of the time, I think that's what Dale likes to do and turns these into staring contests. How do you not blink first in a very physical match?
We're ready. We're ready, John. Only we got a very experienced team. Like you said a second ago, and I said earlier, they're a very well coached team. Dale is a fantastic coach, and they got a lot of history on the NPSL. So they've got that, but we got that young desire, I guess, that new to the block kind of desire to lift that trophy, and that's gonna push us over the line. That's gonna help us win that staring contest that you were referring to. It's just that desire to achieve something and put our name in the history books.
What have you learned about yourself as a coach this season?
Oof, that's a great question. A lot of things. Obviously, in my short years of coaching, only coaching at the collegiate level, it was going to be very interesting to see if our way of running a team, if our way of recruiting, if our way of if our just game module and the characters that we try to bring. The question is, can we be successful at a different level? Can we be successful at a more like semi-pro level, not just college? And that's the one thing that we learned, to that if you recruit good character, good people, and you put the right pieces in the right places, then magic things happen. At the end of the day, character wins.
All right, give me the look of what's going on there on campus. Give me the quick 360, because I see blue skies behind you. So give me the panoramic shot here before we get out.
You got it.
Okay, so all right, you're on the curb. No one is making sure that you can cross the street if you need to. That's excellent. Nicely done. So travel plans to go from Hickory to Boone. What's it looking like?
Yeah, it's a fairly short drive, so we'll plan to practice obviously today, tomorrow, and then a short drive on the Saturday evening to be there for 5 o'clock or so. So obviously we know the area, we know the pitch, we know where we go exactly. So there is no confusion there. So it's gonna be a nice night, and we just can't wait to be part of that environment.
One more question for you. The fan support that showed up on social media last night, and how everybody showed up and showed out for you. What's it been like to see this train for Hickory FC and the fan support there at Lenore Rhine be what it's been for you this year?
Yeah, it's been second to none. Obviously, like I said before, we average in like 3,000, 3,200 fans per game, which is incredible. But not just the number, it's just the quality of our fans. Last night, out of all the games, and obviously the context plays a factor, but of all the games that our fans were on our side, they pushed us over the lines. It was loud, it was rowdy, it was fun. So they've been fantastic, and what made me extremely proud after the game is I turned around and there was about 40 kids kicking soccer balls on the field, and it was like 10:30 p.m. almost. So it was just really proud to see how the community is embracing the sport, and especially the youth community in Hickory.
If you had a question for Dale is coming on after you. If you had a question for Dale, what would your question be?
Oof, it's a very good question from you. Well, we did say at the start of the season when we played our friendly game, just in May, we both said that it would be incredible if we could make this game a final at the end of the season and fight for the conference against one another. So my question will be if he's still feeling the same way. I am, so excited for Saturday.
Okay, good deal. When Dale comes on in short order, I will ask him that. Get to practice, get your coffee, get your breakfast. Thanks for dropping by, especially after the win on the quick turn against Apotheos there in the semifinals. Be safe, my friend. Be well. Good luck this weekend against App. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, John, and congrats to Dale and App FC.
All right, so that's Carlos Rubio, the head coach of Hickory FC. That's half of the equation, and this is how busy we're going to be this morning. I had to bring Coach Rubio in off the top. That's how busy we are. Dale Parker, the head coach of App FC, he's going to be joining us coming up in just a little bit. The Bart Keeler, and so, of course, at 6:30 last night, U.S. Soccer announces that Gregg Berhalter's tenure is now complete at U.S. Soccer, and so we're going to catch up with Bart at 9:30, and we're going to find out the lay of the land from the SoccerForUSPod perspective. 10 o'clock, it is our buddy Nino Torres from GOL TV, and we're going to talk about what happened last night in Charlotte and everything that went on with it. And by the way, FS2 is doing a public service for all of us. They're doing a public service for all of us. They are re-showing the match with Colombia and Uruguay. And by the way, Colombia just scored. So they started it, I want to say they started it like at 8:30. So, yes, it was a cracker of a match, as they say. So, yes, if you want to have a multi-screen experience, then you may by doing it, having FS2 on whatever screen you want and us on the other screen. So we're going to talk about all of the aspects of the Copa with Nino at 10 o'clock. Then our buddy Nico Moreno was there. He was on Atlanta Soccer Tonight last night after the match was over, but he was in Charlotte, as was our Jessica Charman, and he got to see A, the match, B, all of the after stuff. And so we'll be getting into a lot of the Copa in the 10 o'clock hour and how I think that this particular match, if you did not have any idea about what Copa America means to these respective nations and what it means to be a part of all of this, then I think this was the example of what the Copa can be for everybody. So, my bracket had Argentina. I think I had Argentina and Uruguay in my final, and I still have to go with Argentina because you can't change your point of view in the middle of a tournament. But as the timing has gone, Colombia has just scored a couple minutes ago on the corner kick from James, whose value, by the way, is probably going up astronomically for Sao Paulo FC. And so, tremendous stuff last night with the Uruguay and Colombia. I don't think you could have had a more electric crowd. And there were published reports. There were articles like in The Athletic and stuff that said that basically the match felt like it was more in Medellin than it was at times in Charlotte. But Charlotte got a great match last night. And they're going to get the third place game. So Uruguay is going to stay in town. And they are going to be in the third place match against Canada. And it's going to be Colombia and Argentina. And they're okay. So now, as things have proceeded, we have just gotten the pinch and the elbow, and we're going to get the red card in real time here coming up in just a little bit as the FS2 viewing experience continues. By the way, and Tom will be discussing all of that too with what happened after the match and all of that. So. It will be definitely a big part of the discussion in hour number 2, and it will be. Then that's what I figured. I figured that Nico might be on a plane, and so he just literally is texting as we go. So Nico can't join us at 10:30. That's so I figured he's going to be mid-flight, and he said what I figured might be the case. So So we may have our buddy Nino on for a little bit more than just a half hour. But so Nico's mid-flight, not a surprise. But we just had the yellow and the red, and Darwin and Munoz sitting there going, "Well, he pinched me," and no, that's not the case. So it'll be Bart at 9:30, Nino at 10, and we'll probably go a little long with Nino at 10 o'clock. We'll take him past 9:30. But it was great to have Nico and Jess on last night. So we'll see what's going on. Let me see if I can tape something with Nico. Nothing like doing live radio here. So we can tape something. Let's see. When do you land? We can tape something. And so we'll do that with Nico. So Nico will be a tape piece that'll be on the network later today. But obviously, coming up bottom of the hour, it's going to be a discussion with Bart about everything going on involving the U.S. men's national team and what is up with all of that stuff, man, all of that. So it's going to be a busy show, very, very busy show. Yeah, and Emilio, right? They don't have grass either. I got to figure out the whole situation here, but yeah, it looks like they had the grass put in as well. And like I said, we'll get into all of the family stuff. We'll get into the post-match stuff. We'll get into all of it. But busy show, waiting on Dale Parker to drop by and see if he can hang out with us for a couple of minutes, and then we'll have Bart carry us to the top of the hour. And then after that, Nino, and then we'll fill the rest of the time with what we can. We'll tape something with Nico, and we'll post that to the network later today. Yeah, so normally turf, but it looks like it was put down very, very well. You don't see any ruts or anything like that. There isn't a whole lot of divots, but you do see the wear that's been given. But yes, Colombia is now down to 10 players. We're at 48 minutes and such. So that's where we are this morning. Had to bring in Carlos Rubio. Like I said, we're efforting Dale Parker and seeing if Dale can be anywhere near what's going on. Let's see. All right, so let me text Dale really quickly, and ready for. Okay, so there we go. All right, so we got Dale Parker, but yes, so that's the rundown this morning. That's how chaotic we are right now. It's like, okay, are folks on planes? Can they drop by? All of this kind of stuff. But we have a lot of stuff to get into this morning. Obviously, 6:30 last night, U.S. Soccer decided officially to send Gregg Berhalter on his way. Like I said, that'll be with Bart coming up in just a little bit. Then we'll get into the Copa. We'll get into all of the after effects of the Copa. And like I said, we've got news this morning. We'll get into that at 10:30, plus anything else that's on your mind going from 10:30 till 11 o'clock, and we can do it then. Or that's a good idea, John. So, and so we can do that. We can even end with Dale now that we had Nico be on a plane, so we can do. Oh, okay. So, all right. So Dale Parker is going to join us for like 5 minutes, which is all we really need. So that's good. All right. So Dale will join us. I'll get his question that I got from Carlos Rubio. Nothing like having to juggle chainsaws and live guests and things. So we'll catch up with Dale for like 5 minutes and then get ready for the whole thing. And so we are now officially at the half in the FS2 watch along after the red card. Hamas is wondering what in the wide world of sports is going on. Why'd you give the red? Well, you can't elbow somebody after they pinch you. That's the bottom line. You cannot elbow someone after they pinch you. And yeah, and so we'll get into that too. Will, about Berhalter, I guess. I was trying to figure out how to pronounce that. Morning, Alex. Morning, Abby. Morning, Ropes. Morning, Will. Morning to the two bots that joined us early this morning. Morning, Ropes. Morning, Tom. And morning, Emilio. And yes, relieved of duties. Fired. Yes, however you want to phrase it. So once the signal behaves, here comes Dale. And good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah. So how much sleep did you get?
Oh, not a lot. It's a long night. It's a long day, let alone a long night.
Carlos had a question for you, and I will have you put a question into the ether for Carlos. Carlos said that at the start of the season, when you guys had a friendly back in May, the conversation that you guys had with one another, I think that there was an agreement that this matchup that's coming up this weekend would be incredible for a final in the conference. Carlos wanted to know if you still felt the same way.
Yeah, 100%. I think subconsciously throughout the course of the season, I feel like, Hickory and ourselves have been the two teams that are pushing and have got this goal in mind to play in a final. And in my opinion, the two best teams in the conference. I know Apotheos had a really, really good run there from the middle of the season towards the end. They just kind of dropped off right at the end. But I think it's going to be a fantastic final. What I like about it is two local teams, from an area where soccer hasn't always been, the top dog in terms of the sports, and it's just going to be a great spectacle for everybody involved, the players, the staff, but more importantly the fans, because that's what's most important, I think, if we want to grow this game and push it forward.
Last night it was goalless after 45, and you ended up getting the win. What was the conversations like in a rivalry match? I will go ahead and call it a derby. What were the conversations like at the half to get the result?
I think we just had to stay calm. I don't think I've ever seen a team create as many chances as we did in that first 45 minutes. The fact that we haven't put the game away, is almost baffling. When we watched it back a little bit this morning, and we've had 4 players have 2 clear-cut chances each. So it's 8 clear-cut chances in 45 minutes, and we should have had the game put away. And then we tried to keep everybody from losing their heads at halftime. I think it's easy at that moment, to start thinking, what do we have to do to score, and start trying things that potentially you wouldn't normally try. But the key was keep calm, keep doing the same things. Don't necessarily rely on a 25, 30 yard strike from out of nowhere. That's a low percentage opportunity. Let's keep trying to forge opportunities from our football. And don't give up anything in transition. And I think the boys did a good job of that. We lost a little bit of belief when the 90 minutes came up and we had to do it in extra time. But, the 2 goals we scored in extra time were obviously good ones and put the game away.
So if you had a question for Carlos as he listens to this segment back, what would your question for Carlos be?
What formation is he going to play? No, I think the biggest question would be, I don't really know actually what kind of question I would have. I think everybody would have assumed that we would be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. Maybe what colour is he going to wear on the sidelines, because we tend to wear the same colours.
Okay. So, all right. So we'll send that note to Carlos and I'll text him on it. How difficult is it this time of year with the elevated importance of a match, this being a conference final, the quick turnaround for both coaches and for players? I know that you guys might look at a little bit of film on your opposition, focusing on yourselves because of quick turnarounds. It's like, look, there's too much stuff on the table. We'll trim some stuff away. We'll focus on ourselves. And then that way, we can do that. We don't want to widen everything that we have to have on responsibilities. How difficult is it for coaches and players this time of year for a quick turn?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's not ideal. You'd like an extra day at least to get a proper training session. And I think that's the trickiest thing. We won't really get to train. Today's going to be a heavy recovery day. Most of our 18 that were in the squad last night, 17 of them played. And 15 or 16 of them had substantial minutes. So today's going to be heavy recovery without much focus on the game at all, just trying to get them fresh again. And then tomorrow is a pre-game, so we'll get one day really to look at things tactically as a team. Obviously as a staff we'll be a little bit more prepared because we've got more time to look at those sort of things. But in terms of conveying that message to the players, it will just be tomorrow. And like you said there, I think a large piece of it has to be focusing on ourselves and making sure we get the right mix of players and the right shape on the pitch against a very, very good opposition. But but there'll have to be a touch of what Hickory can bring to the table as well, and we give that to the players. So it is difficult, but that is knockout football at this time of the season. It will be for whichever teams are fortunate enough to advance. It will continue to be Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. So you're not going to get much time in between games, and that's just the nature of the beast. So I think we have a pretty good process between these Wednesday, Saturday games. We proved that at the end of the regular season, when we travelled on the road to the two longest trips that we had, and we navigated those really well. So we've got a good process, so we're going to execute that as best we can, and hopefully we put it all into action on Saturday.
What time's kickoff at Ted Mackerel Saturday night?
7 o'clock here in the mountains. Get here early because there won't be any parking, I can tell you that.
Get your second or third cup of coffee or go back to sleeping and napping. And thanks again for hopping on the morning show, especially the night after a big win. Be safe, my friend. We will be following on the weekend. We'll catch up with you soon.
Sounds good, John. Thanks for having us again.
All right, Dale Parker, the head coach at App FC. So we now do Hot Tag, and this is where we bring in Bart to discuss everything going on with the men's national team. And I send the appropriate tweet saying that you are now officially joining us. So 6:30 last night, we finally had the news that was expected or anticipated, whatever word you want to use, finally happened. Gregg Berhalter's gone.
Yeah, I mean, it needed to happen. I think that's the most important thing is there's a lot of people celebrating because their only personality trait is hating a man that they've never met in their life. But unfortunately, he did not get the results that we needed in a tournament that was, and they billed it correctly as a test for the World Cup in 2026, and they failed that test spectacularly. And as I've said, when a test fails, you have to figure out which variables you change or adjust to get the desired outcome. And as I have also said, you can't just change players. The players we have are the players we have. It's not like you can go find and buy a new striker to play for the U.S. national team. You have the guys you have. You can't go out and buy a new center back. And so, the reality is the coach is the one who is most likely to take the fall, especially at the international level.
Yep.
I think one of the reasons it took as long as it did is because, at least the firing, is because people don't realize that there are legalities to contracts.
Billable hours are involved, yes.
But I think also, to Matt Crocker's points, they did want to at least evaluate the situation to know what went wrong, to know how they fix it. And again, the solution is you have to remove the guy who has, since his return, had not a great record. He's 7-6-1, 7 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw. Mm-hmm. That's not great. And when you look at his record, even in CONCACAF since his return, it's not been great. While yes, we won the tie against Trinidad, you still lost due to a red card down on the islands. You needed a literally last second own goal against Jamaica to advance in the Nations League. And I think we're learning more and more that having a winning record against this Mexico team is not as stupendous as American fans would like it to be. And so, you just look at what he's done since he returned, and there has been no next level. And if anything, it's been a little bit of a regression, despite, yes, you win a Nations League. But, I think it's clear that's not really the accomplishment some people think it is. And when you go up against real competition in Copa America, despite not being favored against Uruguay, you still had to beat them, and you didn't. Yes, Tim Weah got a red card against Panama, but you had a goal. You were winning in that game with 10 men and somehow lost it. And then you consider the friendlies before the Copa tournament. And there's just a lot of things where you look at it and go, this man has not truly taken the team where it needs to go. And if you're trying to be the best team possible in 2026, he has not given you any reason to believe that he can take the team far in a tournament.
So then let me ask you this, and I don't mean to do this as any kind of putting dirt on a grave, but I want to ask you specifically, can we have two things being mutually exclusive. Can we have the notion that Gregg Berhalter is a good coach, but at the same time, you have to change things as we are, network one cycle here, but you have to change things if things do not go the way that you anticipate that they go. Can we have two things that are both mutually exclusive and both be true?
I mean, in theory, yes, you could have those things happen where a good coach just doesn't fit the situation right now, which I do think to an extent Gregg doesn't fit the current situation of the men's national team. However, that would also, the other half of your question implies that Gregg is a good coach. And I personally don't buy into that as much as a lot of people are trying to push that narrative. But hey, pro-American coaching propaganda is always something.
Well, and I mean, even if we're talking club level, I mean, I'm not necessarily talking national team, but Gregg Berhalter, I think in some.
I said what I said.
Yeah,
I said what I said.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was an overrated coach at Columbus Crew.
Okay,
and I know y'all love him, and that's great. I think that his one good season at Columbus it seems to be the anomaly of his coaching career. And he, was okay at Columbus. I don't want to say he's a bad coach. I think he just is a coach who has U.S. national team pedigree. And, I think he says a lot of the right buzzwords and believes in playing the right way. But I think it's very clear that even throughout his entire career, he really hasn't been able to produce the style of soccer he claims that he wants to produce. I think, he was fine in Columbus. I think he can definitely go to an MLS team like, say, Chicago, not even have to move, and make them better. Like, if he goes to the Chicago Fire this year, Chicago will be a better team in 2 to 3 years. Now, Chicago itself is a dumpster fire. Which I
was waiting for that.
That would definitely not be a Gregg Berhalter problem. But I think I'm sorry. I've just never bought into him being this fantastic coach, and I think that's why as you turn to the next step, you cannot be putting stupid little boundaries on yourself like he has to be American. And I think that was, if you look at when Berhalter was hired in 2018, it made sense. He was the best current coaching American coach whose name wasn't Bob Bradley or Bruce Arena, who you'd already used. But he's really good at buzzwords. He's really good at talking well to, his superiors to try to tell them and reassure them that he will get things right. He loves a good process. He loves stats. He loves PowerPoint. And those are things that maybe work better at the club game. But we've never seen him get the best out of this men's national team, except for when they're playing Mexico. Again, we finished third in qualifying in 2022. We made it out of the group at the World Cup. That's great. Lost to Netherlands. It's been Gregg has always barely met the expectations with this national team. And at some point, I don't know exactly when, I'd have to go back and actually look at the games, but at some point, the ability to just meet expectations, and maybe it was the Panama game, that was when it truly hit, but that no longer became good enough. And there were a lot of other cultural reasons, I think, in the locker room that led to the problems that we had. No, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Gregg Berhalter is this fantastic coach who just happened to be unlucky because Tim Weah got a red card.
Sounds like to me that you would give him basically throughout his tenure like a B- C+.
Yeah, he's a perfectly acceptable student. Nothing about him is bad. I'm sure he's a joy to have in class, but he's very respectful. He probably doesn't talk back too much. He does the homework, but when it comes time to actually doing the testing, it doesn't quite come through. But yeah.
So in the discussions that you have had, I'm guessing we'll go ahead and say in the last 15 hours and probably since the U.S. exit in the Copa, how many folks that are fans of the program that follow the activities, how many of them are locked into the idea of hiring a domestic coach for this cycle? None. So everybody's like, just give me the best dude. Doesn't matter where he's from.
Yes, absolutely. I think, and again, John, I think if you're holding yourself to a domestic coach, an American coach, that is detrimental to the goals of this program.
Who would be other than the most attractive gentleman that we've been discussing? We have there are a few that are on the board. Who would be on your, and you can take your list as far as you want to go. You can go give me a top 5. Who on your list would you sit there and say, hey, we got to talk to so-and-so. I think this guy's got to be on your list. I would imagine, I think I remember seeing that Matt Crocker said that money is not going to hold us back in any regard.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that money won't hold you back. I do think as fans need to realize that there is some level of there's a financial cap. But
Canada can bring in a tenured professorship, so maybe
I mean, and I'm not joking that they need to explore how does that work, because there are rich people in this country who want soccer to grow. Some of them own MLS teams. Some of them are just rich people.
Yes.
And, that is definitely a route you need to look at, especially for the 2026 World Cup. On my list, here you go. Bernard.
Okay.
He's on the top of my list.
Right.
Murat Yakin, who's coaching Switzerland right now. I don't know where he stands right now with the team, if he wants to keep going, but he's been there since at least the 2022 World Cup.
So why is he on your list? Because that is not a name that is a common name that has been attached.
I'm looking for people who have been relatively successful as international managers. I think Switzerland has played a style of soccer that would fit us well, where they are not too defensive or not too possession oriented. They want to have the ball, but they're okay not having it. When they do have the ball, they are playing in a slightly more German style where, yes, possession is important, but getting the ball, progressing the ball upfield and getting to the goal is the most important thing, which I think, again, was a lot of times the issue with Berhalter ball and Pineda ball, which was
there you go.
Possession for the sake of having the ball, not possession to actually use that to score goals. So Murat Yakin's on there because, again, I think you look at a guy who has been successful for Switzerland. And I don't know where he stands right now with Switzerland. I mean, I don't think they have any reason to get rid of him. But maybe.
Well, but I would also think that if folks want to open up a wallet and go to the Swiss Fed and go, well, we'd like to bring this gentleman along, I don't think the Swiss Fed is going to sit there and say,
yeah, I don't know. That's the question, right? Is what is that price point? Because I think he's still under contract. I haven't seen, from my research, he hasn't been let go or anything. But again, he's coached 2 tournaments. Who knows if he's ready to move on? Diego Alonso's on there. I'm not saying he would be a great pick. I just think that you got to talk to him because he has international coaching experience. He has coaching experience in this country. That's just one I would want to look at. And then you're going to go through the list of the tenured Dutch coaches who have been everywhere. I think you need to talk to Koeman, Van Gaal, Marvik, Hiddink, just talk to him. And then another one that I think might be interesting is the guy who is coaching Albania. Go see if Silvino. I would love to know the financials of what that would need to be to make that happen, because Albania was fun.
Yeah. I had them getting out of group stage.
Yeah. And so those are the coaches I'm not necessarily looking at, just ones that I was, in my 15 hours since this, with limited knowledge and resources, have said, oh yeah, that would be a guy I think we should talk to. Thank you, Abby. See, he did not extend his contract. See, that I couldn't tell if he was fired, but if he didn't extend his contract, it's great. And that's the thing, is you need to strike while the iron's hot, literally and figuratively, because a lot of these coaches who just finished up a Euro or Copa tenure are either going to make the decision themselves to move on, or the federation is going to make a decision to move on. And you need to be, as U.S. Soccer, in a position to pounce on them And yeah, money's going to be somewhat of an issue because it's always an issue. Obviously, I'm sure we'll talk about it. There are reports that the dude, Jurgen Klopp, is being contacted. I don't know. I am sitting here right now that I think if any U.S. soccer fan is getting their hopes up that Jurgen Klopp is going to be coaching this national team, you are going to set yourself up for disappointment. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't go talk to him. But, that's like Coastal Carolina expecting Nick Saban to come there.
Well,
I've seen that pitched as well. We should go get Saban or Belichick, and I think that would be just hilarious.
Yeah. We're moving on to Mexico. Basically, that's what you did. I mean, and so in this kind of a conversation, you mentioned Jurgen Klopp, and I know that the picture's out there from Roger and Men in Blazers, and he's very, it's like totally not made up 1,000%. I think at the very least, even if he is not interested in doing the quick turn and jumping back in and coaching a national team, I still think that in these kinds of situations, you want to get that kind of an interview in your folder so you know what that energy is going to be like, what that expectation is going to be, what it's like dealing with a heavy hitter like that.
And I think you're exactly right of it. He very well will turn you down, right? I know Jurgen's not fully about money. The dude has made plenty of money in his time as a coach. I don't think he cares.
He's all right.
Jokingly, you could, I'm not joking really, but you offer him a VW dealership or two in major metro areas. And you say, hey man, you can have you can have ownership of, VW Atlanta and Chicago and, Arlington.
Kind of like Saban and Mercedes-Benz.
100%, and maybe you give them some McDonald's franchises. I don't know, but there are ways to. That's what I'm talking about when you consider what a financial package looks like. I mean, do you give them just part ownership of NASDAQ?
What's the NIL deal involving you?
Yeah, right. And I think that's something that you need to interview Jurgen to figure out. And by the way, you have time, but you don't have much time because you do need to you don't want to waste time.
September's over there, but it's not over there.
Right. And you don't want to waste time looking that other guys get snatched up or women. I don't know. That could happen too. Go get Sabrina Wiegman. Who knows what she's up to? But I think as you mentioned, the thing about interviewing Klopp is it may give you an idea of what it would take to get a big name-ish hire. Maybe he turns you down, but you go, okay, well, he was at this level. Who do we get at, whatever that, if he's at 10, how do you get someone between 5 and 7?
Right.
And what does it take to get a manager like that? Because again, I think, well, if I can disagree with Matt Crocker for a second,
sure.
And he deserves a lot of scrutiny for this, but he did mention something that he wants a coach that's focused on player development. And I'll be honest, Matt, I don't care about player development. You need to hire a guy who's going to get the best team possible on the field at 2026. After that, move on. That's fine. But you have to understand that 2026 is the thing that matters. And we're not developing a whole lot of players by then. We got 2 years, you should be bringing in new players. I mean, there are guys that are going to be at the Olympics, maybe Tanner Tessman and Kevin Paredes, Patrick Schulte, that maybe need to be developed. But that's also not the job of a national team coach.
Yeah,
that's the job of club coaches. I need a guy who's going to be able to optimize this team and maximize their performance.
Get me results and get them now, basically.
I mean, you got 2 years to get you a result.
It's the Veruca Salt approach of soccer. I want it now.
Basically. Yes, very much.
I know that there were some other names that were put in the Twitch pitch, and one of them was Steve Cherundolo out in Los Angeles, because I know we were discussing coaches that are of a U.S. base. My concern about someone like a Steve Cherundolo is that stylistically, I think he has regressed in the last year and a half at LAFC, and he seems to be more about outbound criticism instead of looking at how you're constructing things when it comes to your roster and your own output. It's more outbound as opposed to output. And that's why
I think you're 100% right.
Because all he wants to do is kvetch in CONCACAF, you know?
Well, and I think, John, that is a little bit of he needs to still grow as a manager. He's still very young in his actual managerial career. I know he's had a lot of time managing youth teams over at Hanover, and he was coaching a USL team, but the lights at that point were just, the LAFC minor league team. So managing is a loose term. His goals were different. So he is still learning. That does not mean that Steve Cherundolo is, in my opinion, a terrible coach. I mean, he clearly has won some things for LAFC. Good for him. But he needs to still grow and develop. And I think if you want an American, I think your goal is you take 2026 and you go, how do we use this to create a bit more of a ground level infrastructure to make sure that Americans can start doing and getting the best jobs and getting the best out of our teams. And maybe Cherundolo is the guy for 2030, if that makes sense. Maybe he kind of develops as a coach. And now after the World Cup happens, you see Dolo as a guy who can be a national team manager. And maybe there are others. I mean, there's a guy in Cincinnati who's doing a pretty darn good job. Maybe by that time, a guy who probably is going to get fired in Austin after the season, but maybe he gets a better coaching gig. I don't know. That's mean. He might not, but you know what I'm saying.
I know. As considering how impatient the folks are in Austin.
Yeah. Austin's put too much money into to not win. But, there are American coaches who come from the second generation, if you will, of the modern American player who might be better suited to take on a national team gig after this cycle. None of them are ready right now. And that's, again, the thing that if you need an American, none of the American MLS coaches are ready right now.
And, Amelia, we will discuss what's going on in Bart's background before he goes. Nino Torres from GOL TV joining us in about 7 minutes to break down everything that happened at the Copa. And once again, FS2 doing the Lord's work right now. We're in the 64th minute of the rewatch of Uruguay and Colombia from last night. I know that there are a lot of names that are out there. I know David Wagner was put in the Twitch pitch. I don't know if David Wagner has the cachet that would be attached for something like this. Club, sure.
Yeah. That would be my concern with David Wagner is he definitely doesn't have the international management experience that I would want. That said, he does have international playing experience, and I do think that is somewhat important here.
Yes.
But again, he's an American. Can that work? He obviously, again, he played for the U.S. national team. So if you want a dude who is an American, that could be your guy. But he's on my list. Let's just put it that way. I think you absolutely have to talk to him. And he doesn't have a job right now, so he can't be super demanding of a salary.
So when we discuss Gregg Berhalter and the legacy of Gregg Berhalter, I know that we talked about probably ends in conduct from our elementary school report cards, needs improvements, maybe some satisfactories in there, depending on listens well, plays well with others, respects materials. The conduct section that we used to have when it came to our elementary school report cards. You gave him basically a B-, C+ as a manager. What do you think his legacy will be? Good, bad, middle of the road, what have you? What aspects of his legacy do you think folks will carry with?
Well, I think in the short term, it's very much the idea that he never quite got the team to play better than the sum of its parts. He also had a lot of situations with players that maybe ostracize one or two very good players for the sake of the culture of the team. And he definitely held on to some of his favorites too long. Now, to be fair, those last 2 points are things that all managers have problems with. But I think those are reasons why the first point is so important, is that he never truly got the best out of his team. Now, that said, he had a great record overall. But I think when you look back, it's just very clearly a similar story for a lot of American coaches. First cycle was pretty darn good. Second cycle proved to be not very good at all.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, who do you think, from a playing standpoint, on the field, whether it's 18, 23, 25, however many players deep on your mindset you want to go here, who do you think will benefit the most with this managerial change, with this head coach change, regardless of obviously things happening before September and the new round of friendlies? But who do you think benefits the most? Is it going to be those big names in the All-Stars, the heavy hitters that we always look at, or is it going to be somebody that has shown promise and might just need that little bit of encouragement one way or another, that little tweak to get them to the next level? Who do you think the kind of player that benefits the most, or do you have someone in mind?
I mean, I think he's already playing a lot, but I think it's Gio Reyna, because I don't think the new coach will be so beholden to a style and a formation. I mean, Gregg was even beholden to a formation, and it's like, dude, why are we doing this? That I think Gio will be allowed to be. I'm hoping the next manager will see that Gio can be super effective higher up the field and put him in a position to truly pull strings and be kind of the creative attacking force he can be. So that's one. I think if you're looking down the list a little bit, you've got to look at guys like Johnny Cardoso and Luca De La Torre, who are very good players in La Liga for their teams, and haven't quite been getting the attention and run out for the national team. Now, I don't think that they've necessarily shown that they deserve more, but a new coach gives you an opportunity to show what you can do to a new set of eyes who don't have kind of the predisposition of other players in front of you. Now, again, I think that the midfield that Gregg has been running out is the best midfield we could get. But, you do have the idea that Tyler Adams, kid can't stay healthy. Yunus Musa isn't playing for his club team. Weston McKennie is going to be who knows where come September. So both Johnny and Luca have opportunities here if they just keep their head down and play well for their La Liga teams to impress a new coach.
All right, last question for you. What is going on with? Are you building a?
It's my desk at work. I'm sorry. Every time I touch it, it just moves. I don't know.
Everybody was wondering if there's construction going on behind.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So
I just hit it and it moves. So I have to sit and not touch it.
So it's a metal desk that has the most expensive reverb.
I apologize.
And then the Soccer for Good OG, Jill, says she'll always remember 3GB for breaking miles on national team duty and costing Atlanta United trophies. Yes, post-match sprints. Those are always effective. And then she says, Gio's got to play somewhere. I think there are issues there. Why so much talent but not playing on a club team? I think he can help. I think you can thank his agent.
Well, and that I think that's a big thing is it's hard to truly criticize Gregg for the Gio situation because Gio himself has done himself no favors. He hasn't been a locked-in starter or player for any of his club teams.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't. When he got his move to Nottingham, which I don't think was a good move, I think we all understand that.
Yes,
that didn't help him. He needs to find a club where he can play and thrive. And if you're asking me, I think he needs to go to maybe a lower tier Bundesliga team, go somewhere middle of the table, and find playing time there. Maybe go over to play for Pellegrino Matarazzo and see maybe that can help. Or maybe you need to move to a different league. Maybe you need to go to La Liga and play for one of the 7 clubs that are good but not I think he was linked to Sevilla at one point. Maybe that's a good option for him. But he does need to go find himself. No, don't go to Schalke. I said a midfielder. Not Schalke. Although he might not have to move too far because they're right across the way from each other. But I think that it's Gio's a great example, maybe the best example of American players who clearly have a lot of talent, who need to find a better club situation. And that is the project for all of them going forward. And as you look at, as the transfer window opens in I don't know math, but very short amount of time.
Yeah.
What are we at? Not quite 20 days. Yeah. They need to start looking at where are they going that they can start playing more, because they all have opportunities right now to impress a new coach. And a lot of the impressions that you're going to make are at the club level, because that's where they're going to see you play the most. And he's got to make it. I don't think that Gio is that way anymore. I think he had a growing learning experience in 2022, but by all accounts, he has wildly changed.
I think his family, I think he needs to distance himself from his family.
He has. And I think that's, to your point, that's what he's been trying to do is distance himself. Maybe not distance, but be more independent. I got
to be my own guy here for a little.
Right, and we all go through that. I mean, again, Gio was very young at the World Cup, and at that point, you're still relying so heavily on mom and dad, right? I from my own experience, your first job you're looking for. I mean, how often do you call mom and dad to be like, Mom, Dad, this thing happened. What do I do? It's like all these things. And by your third or fourth job, you go, oh, I'll just let you know what happens, Mom and Dad. At some point you figure out how to buy a car without your dad there. It's just one of those things that you grow as a person, and you grow in confidence, and you gain knowledge and wisdom. And that's where he is. Again, he of all the players is one who is still very young. A lot of the guys are now nearing their mid-20s. Gio's still very young, and he still has growing to do. But again, he is a guy who, if you are an American soccer, if you're a U.S. soccer fan, you have to look at Gio Reyna as a pivotal player going to 2026 because of his talent, his skill, and to be frank, his nastiness at times. I mean, we need that. If the biggest lesson I took out of Copa America, John, and I know we're going way over time, is this team was not mentally ready to put it all on the line to win. Gio brings a little bit of that to you.
Okay. What's the latest for SoccerForUSPod?
Well, we had a whole episode recorded. Johnny got to sit down and edit it last night. And then I was like, well, we can't do this. We got to, so we're going to record today about the Berhalter thing and probably just try to get it out. This one might not be very edited. So let's just put it that way.
Do it as a lost episode and sit there and say, this was before. And
well, the one it was Olympic team roster. So it's still very relevant. We just wanted to get it out before Berhalter, and we definitely weren't expecting Berhalter news to, we weren't banking on the National Federation to actually,
At 6:30 at 6:30 in the midweek on a news dump. As always, my friend, thanks for coming on short notice. I know it was kind of a crunch, and hell, to get you a better desk, eh?
I know. All the other ones are wooden. Mine's like modern. The problem is it's just is what it is. Anyway, thank you all for listening. I appreciate it. And listen, don't go into the stands and fight people.
That's why. We'll get into that.
Also, don't fight players' families in the stands. Be nice to people.
Yeah, we'll talk about that with our next guest, Nino Torres.
And I'm sure you will.
Thank you, Bart.
Bye, y'all.
All right, there goes Bart, and so that means we bring in Nino. And how are you, my friend?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing, John? Everybody? And I'm so excited, so pumped, man. This Copa America has been savage. It's been savage. I love it, man.
Well, and one of the FS2 is doing the Lord's work, and they are rebroadcasting the match this morning from Uruguay and Colombia. They're showing it right now. They're in the 75th minute. Suarez just hit the post. So, we've been getting the re-airing of the shenanigans all morning. I don't know how much after we're going to get, but we got time. So we got time this morning. So we're not in a time crunch. The only time crunch is 11:05-ish Eastern time, and then I got to talk about news of the day and things like that. So we can go for a while.
All right.
Unless you got to do burpees or get a cup of coffee or something.
Already got it done, buddy.
All right. Yesterday at 6:30 Eastern time, U.S. Soccer came out with the announcement that Gregg Berhalter, thank you for your service. Here's your pocket watch. We'd like your key card and your ID. We have never here on the morning show been a bunch that is a fan of more than one cycle. It's just like give me a cycle and then move on to the next guy because message gets stale, players move on, whatever.
Right.
Now that the United States has finally moved on from Gregg Berhalter, your initial thoughts starting last night around dinner time and since you've had the sum total of 15 hours to think about it.
I think it was time. Relationships, they have a lifetime. They have there's a beginning, then there's an end. And usually, especially in soccer, I don't know about any, and maybe in other sports might work longer. And there's special cases, and there's special cases for soccer too. Like I don't know. Let's see. I forgot the guy from Manchester United. I forgot his name. Jesus.
Sir Alex.
Alex, you're Alex, right? You got those are unicorns. Those are unicorns. Nobody can last in a soccer job and as a head coach successfully more than 5 years. I mean, I think 5 years, 6 years. We want to stretch it to 6 years, right? And that's a cycle. That's a cycle for a soccer coach. 7 years, things are they're not fresh anymore. And the things that you try to sell, the ideas that you try to sell to the players, they're not buying. They're not buying anymore. It doesn't matter what you say and how you say and how many times you say it. It's not going to sink. They're not going to let it sink. They're like, we don't believe you anymore. We don't believe you anymore. I'm not saying that it's that the USMNT national team players are saying stay away from us. No. But the relationship it gets worn out. They're worn out. And then you see when you don't see the results, because if the coach says something, right? Oh, guys, going to play this type and this style, and we move it from this position to that position, and you win, okay, we'll buy. But when we don't win, and you come up with these ideas, and we're not gonna. It's not like we're not gonna listen to you. We're gonna do it, but then the results at the end of the 90 minutes, without saying a word, just the looks, the one that say, "Hey, it's not working. It's not working." Well, where do we go now? Where do we go? Like the song, right? It is what it is. And remember when I said. Was it last week? It was last week, right? About Jurgen Klopp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, it's like it's on fire now. Everybody wants Jurgen now. And not because I said it. No, because of that. But it was one of the first ones. You gotta give me that credit, man.
Oh, I absolutely, my friend. Now the U.S. gets to watch everything else happen. And in the Copa, 10 minutes to go in the re-air, Colombia is still leading 1-0 over Uruguay. Last night, this match, I think for anyone that has never sat down and watched the Copa America in the United States, I think that last night was a gauge. It's like, if you've never seen this before, this is what you got into. And it was 90 minutes of this is what you got into when you got turned into a guest star in this production, man.
It was insane. It was just insane. And I was so glad. I was so glad that these two teams met last night, right? It was Colombia, arguably the best team in the tournament. I don't care about what Argentina right now. I don't care about Argentina. They're playing the best soccer, and they got the best player, James Rodriguez, colliding with Uruguay. This Uruguay that was an insane machine, and like it seems like they have, but everybody in Uruguay has 3 lungs, not 2, right?
Bielsa mandated that. It's like if you're going to be, you got to get that 3rd lung.
Yeah. You got to, man. You got to, in order to play like that, so intense, suffocating pressure from the first minute to the 90th minute. It was nonstop. The pressure. I was like, 25 minutes. All right, they're going to slow down. No, 35. They're going to slow down. They're not slowing down. They're not slowing down. But you gotta win. The only way. But if you want to win, it's the recipe in soccer is simple, and at the same time it's so complex that it says the team that scored the most goals wins. Right? Everything comes down to that simple statement. The team that scores more goals wins, and the firepower for Uruguay, it was just not there. Which is even with Lucho, they send Lucho to the pitch, and I'm not so excited to see Luis Suarez. And I'm excited to see him in that role, right? Coming in from the bench, grabbing the armband, being the captain, hitting up the shot in the pipe, producing several chances for Uruguay. But Colombia was so compact. They were so tight. It was a unit. It's just Amo brothers, man. It was just insane the way that they protect that lead for 50 minutes with the overtime. 52 minutes with a man down. That's just remarkable. And that's what Toto Lorenzo also brought to the table when we talked about that he went to James Rodriguez and told him to, hey, come over here, I want to build a team around you. But everything with the Toto Lorenzo starts from the defensive standpoint, because he was a defender when he was a player, right? He was a defender when he was a player. And his mindset is this, we're going to protect our pocket, and then we go from there. We command all that vertical plays, all that sensational offense, and all the variety of weapons that they have in offense. But their defense is the best in the tournament. And I think many people saying about this, all these conspiracy theories, right, about Argentina. And all the way that the tournament was built up. Oh, you're going with the easy way. But when you get to the finals, there's only 90 minutes, 11v11, and anything could happen.
You mentioned defense and compactness and red cards and things like that. How did you? And this was something that I noticed in U.S. fan Twitter. A 280 character app last night. The U.S. fans who have not seen a Copa match or an international match like what we saw last night, they were wondering about the officiating. Why, the range of opinions about the center ref. It's like, oh, man, he's awful. Why isn't he calling things? Oh, man, it's great. He's not calling things. He called the red. That was the right call. Hey, the guy got pinched. He gave him another yellow. I saw opinions all over the place last night about the center ref. And what I would offer in this is that it was a job that was done to let the game breathe, but not let it get out of control. And there's a difference in that. There's a fine line in that. And I think that line was really traveled well last night.
And I'm going to say this for all the U.S. fans. Welcome to CONMEBOL.
Exactly right.
Well, welcome to CONMEBOL. This is how we play the game. All right. This is how we got our relationships with the referees. This is how we manage the tempo and how we manage the temper. And even though when Uruguay, what happened at the very end of the game, right? It's crazy what happened.
We'll get into that.
But that's after the game. That's after the game. That's not within the 90 minutes when the referees and the players are involved. But it's another level, all right? It's a different level, because every week you see in MLS, how the game flows, and then there's also ginormous mistakes on the officiating, to enormous mistakes, all right? But that's I think that's for the lack of experience. I'm saying this, all right? Lack of experience, I'm going to call it. I'm going to put it like that, with the referees in the MLS. Now, if you go to CONMEBOL, you go to these referees that coming from these leagues that they're so tough, that they're rough, that there's a lot of pressure, because this is real pressure on the referees. There's real pressure on the referees, and it's just the way that the tournament goes with the crunch time, to take decisions almost on the fly. Okay, it brings the best and the worst at the same time, and it gives you that age. And when you're thinking, was this gonna? I don't know about this call. Why did they call this for this team, or why are they calling for the other team? Now, what's the reason? And then all the controversies are coming, and the referees are in the center of the storm, and able to come up alive some way, somehow.
And I mean, there were moments. I mean, you got to have, in a semifinal and a final, you got to have a top crew with eyes in the back of their head, and they've got to. And I think that one of the things that we notice, for those that haven't seen it, is that yes, they let it breathe, but they understand the context of what's going on.
Right.
In a given moment with a given action, and they add it to, it's like they add it as another chapter of the book that is the game. It's like, okay, we see where the story's going. We're going to let this happen. Everything is fine in the context of what we're seeing. Nothing's out of the way, completely off the rails, but it's there and it's manageable.
Exactly. And that's why they have these, I'm not going to say this is a special book, right? But it's your black book they had in the pocket, right? That black book when okay, this is the situation, and we got to manage in this way, and you got to manage in a different way for different games. And that black book was keeping this tournament going the way it is going. I don't know. Do you know? I don't know who's the crew for the finals. Do you have it? No.
Let me check my WhatsApp channel from our friends at the Copa, because the Copa is basically like, okay, here's the deal. Copa America. All right. So they don't. All right. So, yeah, it just came out at about 30 minutes ago. Yes, I accept.
Oh, okay. So I haven't seen it.
Argentina, Colombia. Rafael Klaus. It is a Brazilian referee. Rafael Klaus. AR, Bruno Pires. AR2, Rodrigo Correa. Those are all Brazilian officials. Your fourth, Juan Benitez from Paraguay. Your fifth, Eduardo Cardoso from Paraguay. VAR, Rodolfo Toschi from Brazil. And Danilo Manis from Brazil is your AVAR. That's your finals crew. Canada, Uruguay. Looks like it's Venezuelan top three. Alexis Herrera from Venezuela is your center ref. AR number 1, Luben Torrealba. AR number 2, Alberto Ponte. Fourth, Jerry Vargas from Bolivia. Your fifth, Bruno Boschilia from Brazil. VAR, Derlis Lopez from Paraguay. And your AVAR, Milciades Saldivar from Paraguay. So there you go. Those are your crews.
I think Rafael Klaus is the right man for the job. I think they picked the right guy, even though he sometimes he comes up with some attitude, but I think he's qualified for these finals. And the fact that it's a Brazilian, it's just, I think it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. I was thinking that why they didn't pick another one from another country. I was going for the countries, and like, you cannot pick this guy from this country. No. But Brazil even though they were ousted, but by Colombia, but I think it's gonna have anything to do with it. I think Rafael Claus is right man for the job.
See, and the funny thing is, in our conversation with our watchers and listeners in the Twitch pitch, now we have our fans now and our listeners and a part of our Twitch pitch family now jokingly saying they wished it was Ivan Bartone. That's the kind of impact CONMEBOL has now had in their brains, is that they now remember Ivan Bartone and now can have him as a punchline going forward.
That's
insane. What this tournament has done, Nino. I mean, that's what they've done, man.
It's just part of the game. It's just part of the game. You know, every time a referee has a controversial performance, it's going to chase him. It's going to hunt him down for, I don't want to say forever, but there's some names. When you say a name, RP Filo, there are names of referees that come up, Codesal from the finals in the 1990. I mean, it's like you cannot say Codesal in Argentina, man. It's bad, man. It's just such a bad vibe. You cannot say Codesal because they will probably, I don't know, punch you in the face, man.
Wow.
Even though it was 34 years ago. Okay,
that's the thing. It's like Ivan Bartone is now drawing that same kind of heat.
Yeah.
And it's only been a month in the United States, and now folks are like, Ivan Bartone, we know what we're dealing with, man. We don't want nothing to do with that.
Absolutely. And you know what's funny? There's this guy used to be a referee. He used to call the I don't know if you know about this guy, Javier Castrilli. Have you heard about this guy?
No. What's up?
He was the best referee from Argentina back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. But he was known as the sheriff because he was just, man, he was a sergeant. He was just you cannot play, you cannot mess with the guy. And he did not hesitate at any time to show red cards at any moment. All right. He didn't care there was the finals. He didn't care if it was 90 minutes. No, if it's a red card, it's a red card. I'm going to take you out. And his line was so hard, like he was respected. And he's on Twitter, of course. He's on Twitter, and he comments on all the decisions for the referees, and it's so fun to read because his perspective is like I don't know, like he's a monk, you know. He's a monk. I cannot be touched. He's just insane the way that he was not he didn't let the atmosphere or the pressure to affect his decisions. And many times, many people were not happy with him. But in the end, I would like to have him than anyone else.
Nino Torres, our buddy from GOL TV, hanging out with us, talking everything Copa America. All right. We got to talk about what happened after the match. And I know that it's easy. And like I said, we got time and space, so I'm not worried about quick takes or hot takes or anything like that. We can talk this through, and I want to do that because I think it's important. A lot of folks who were brought into the Copa for the first time last night, they're going to look at what happened after the match with what happened in the stands, and that is going to be their instant opinion about everything that's wrong and why this stuff shouldn't happen, why these things shouldn't happen here, and why you're going to get all of the snap opinions about over the top wrong. But what I wanted to do was bring in information and context here and have folks understand what went down. Was it wrong? Absolutely. On multiple fronts? Absolutely. And I don't want something like that to put a black cloud over everything, but I want to talk about it because of what happened and how important it is.
Absolutely. And let's start for the security.
Yeah.
Where was the security in there? I mean, in a NFL game and in a baseball game, yeah. Somebody says something or somebody throw a punch, and immediately the response is like within seconds, take the people out.
Yeah.
Why did it take so long why did it take so long to manage this situation? I saw the video and I saw the police calling, and they were like almost brought their cell phones up to record the fight. That's the part that really it concerns me in terms of the security not only for the fans, but for the players too.
Yeah,
it's got to work because they work to protect the players and to protect the people. So you got to be in the middle, and I think there was a lack of response from the security that was disposed to the stadium. It's just in
a situation that is as heated as it traditionally is between these two countries when they play, why it was thought that it was going to be a good idea. Because, I mean, at every wedding, you're going to have a wedding reception, and you've got to figure out the seat chart. You got to figure out, okay, who can sit next to folks, who can have conversations, who can not say something bad about the bride and groom, and then who's the aunt that's always going to sit there and be the one that says, well, I didn't like them in the first place. Why, when you filled out the seat chart for this match at Charlotte, did you have the families of one of the teams in close proximity to the rabid fans or of the team that was going to be on the other end of the result? The seat chart and the security here, they look like they were flawed on multiple fronts. Why do you have young children and families of one team next to super fans from the other side? The seat chart and how that was put together, it seems like it was flawed.
Absolutely. And but the thing is also that I don't know how long in advance the tickets were sold.
True.
That's what I don't know. That's because and you don't know who's going to play in the semifinals too. So you buy the tickets, but in the end, I don't know. But it could have been handled so much better when it comes to family and for the players. They need to be in a secure spot. They just need to be in a secure spot, man. Period.
And I know that we're gonna look at everything that happened, and I know that Darwin Nunez, I'm sure, is going to get a hefty suspension, or is he? How much context is going to be given to the situation as we're talking it through here? And he and Jimenez were making.
Yes.
I know that Jimenez came on and did the post-match interview and was trying to explain how it was all laid out up there. And you've got Nunez throwing hands in that section while we're waiting on security and more security to try to separate things, and stuff's being thrown. And I mean, you wonder what the fallout of this is going to be when it gets to that court stage, when it gets to the tribunal for CONMEBOL, and what's going to happen here. I mean, you've got to do something, but I don't know what you do, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, because suspension, okay, you suspend the players, all right, for I don't know how many games or for how long you're going to suspend it.
Right.
So what's gonna be the impact on the security for further games if you suspend the players only? I think it's just not the only way that CONMEBOL should act. But in the end, let's put it this way, man. It's all about business. Mm-hmm. It's all about business. It's just, all right. You want to suspend the players. You want to say an apology later to the fans and the families, and let's move on.
Yeah, and I think that this is also a learning experience for United States venues as we get closer to the World Cup.
Right. But this is going to be a precedent for the World Cup. I think they're going to work so much better for the World Cup.
Yeah, this is hopefully going to be a learning experience for the United States and U.S. venues and security and organizations and how you handle things. The matchup on the weekend. Yeah, I know that you're already sitting there and you're plotting your food. You know what you're going to be making. You know what you're going to have when your feet are kicked up. You know how you're going to watch this. And you got a team that has not lost in 28 straight, going up against the team that beat them the last time they lost over 2 years ago with Argentina and Colombia. And, I mean, how can you explain to someone who is new to Copa America what winning Copa America means within that framework of support for your national team? I mean, here, you know, from your time here, you know what it means to have a national team do well and what it means to win Gold Cups, Nations Leagues, et cetera. What does it mean for a CONMEBOL nation to win Copa America? What does it mean from your perspective?
Just to give you an idea, if you guys watch the post game interview with James Rodriguez, the guy was bowling, man. He was bowling. He couldn't even finish the interview because how excited he was, how emotionally affected he was for coming into the finals. You know, he's been 13 years playing for the national team. This is the first time they reached the finals. This is the first time they reached the finals since 2001 for Colombia. And this is a nation, the Colombian nation is a nation that they always get close. They always get close to the top, but for some reason they fall apart in the very last second. They cannot get the last ticket. They cannot finish the job, and they feel that this time is their time. That this time is their time, even though they're going against Messi and the world champions and the current Copa America champions. They know it's their momentum, and especially against Argentina. There's a special thing about Colombia going against Argentina, and I'm going to tell you, I probably, I can almost guarantee. I can also guarantee you this. All right, when I'm gonna go check all the Colombian outlets, but they're gonna play that 5-0 from 1993 all over the place, man. They're gonna play that movie every single time, and they were like, okay, we're gonna do this again. I mean, I'm not saying they're gonna win 5-0. I'm not saying that, but it's just the energy that is coming with this Colombia team, and this is the thing, right? Argentina, he's gonna be well rested. They didn't play the toughest teams in the competition. The thing is, how much are they going to elevate their game? Because they're going to have to elevate their game. They haven't been playing on their top level in the entire Copa America. I'm going to say that if you, after all the games that I watched from Argentina, probably there's 45 minutes all combined that Argentina played at their top level. 45 minutes across all their games. No, I cannot put more play time for Argentina playing at top level. And I think this is the thing. I think they're just a bit overrated right now.
Wow. Okay.
They're overrated right now. And facing Colombia is going to be a reality check to see if they are who they say they are, if they are who their cops they're saying they are, or it's just all these conspiracy theories about making the easy route to the finals is going to fail miserably in the finals. We'll see. But right now, I know I said before that Uruguay was my candidate, and I think the finals will be Argentina against Uruguay. In all this aura that of a gang that Messi and his team brings to the table. It's impressive. It's scary, but right now, I think it's hopefully happens. Right? Hopefully it happens. I think that the two best teams in the world right now that they're playing the two best tournaments in the world, Spain in the Euros and Colombia in the Copa America. I pray to the soccer gods, to the Mount Rushmore of soccer, to Johan Cruyff, to Pelé, to Di Stefano, to Diego Maradona, to bring all their magic. And look at that, man. Look at that. Oh, boy. Hola. I love that shirt, man.
Yeah.
For once, that the two best teams wins the championship.
Okay.
Because not always happens that the best team wins these tournaments, especially these short tournaments, right? This is only a month. You got to be at your best for a month, right? It's different when you win a 34-game season. That's a different story. Always the best team wins on the long run. But in the short run, not always happens. And hopefully Spain and Colombia, because they play the best soccer, they get the trophy, hopefully.
When it comes to Colombia, I know we gravitate toward James, and you're going to be shorthanded, obviously, because of the red card that happened in the match last night. Give me someone for a viewer popping in for the first time. This is their first Copa America final.
Lucho Diaz.
And they're, if they haven't ever seen a Copa America final before, and they're jumping in because it was in the United States and they're gravitating toward it, and they're like, oh, this has been a cool tournament, and they're watching this for the first time. Give me somebody that's not quite star power, that's not quite the James level. For things to go well for Colombia, who do folks need to look at to sit there and go, oh, okay, things are going well, and it's not because of James? Who else do they need to look at for Colombia?
No, because you said Lerma.
Okay.
Lerma, he's been in the heart of the soccer operations for Colombia, and he got the goals. I think he got only one goal.
Yeah, he had the header last night.
Right.
Yeah.
So it got two then because he scored on the other game too. She's the influence of Lerma, because you got James, you got Lucho, and that's the soccer circuit. But when it comes to bring the balance, that's Lerma, with the guy that you look up to. That's Lerma. That's it. Keep an eye on Lerma, guys. Keep an eye on Lerma. Watch his movements off the ball. Watch how many times he reached the end zone, how many coverage he does per game, how many tackles, how many recoveries, how many transitions are running by Lerma in order to get to Colombia to the next level.
So then for Argentina, I want to talk about Emi Martinez a little bit.
All right.
And he's what we call a dude. I mean, he's a dude. And when you have someone who is at the top of his game that feels like Superman, I mean, he's got the cape, he's got the S. I don't know what kryptonite Emi Martinez has. I don't know if there is anything, because the swagger's there. And honestly, if you get into a situation where it's PKs and Emi Martinez is dealing with it, and he's just like walking and he's playing games and he's ready to go and he's woofing and he's doing all kinds of things, to have that kind of confidence between the sticks in a final, that's got to take you to places you never thought you could go. And to have that for Argentina just reinforces how, you got the firepower up top and you got all the big names, but when you're at the back of the line and you're having to sit there and make sure that somebody makes a big save, having a guy like Emi Martinez, having a guy like Debo is just nuts, to have somebody who's on that kind of a role.
I want to tell you this for Emi Martinez. This is what I've noticed, not just during the games with Argentina, because when he plays, the thing is, when he plays for Argentina, his level goes up to the roof, man. This is crazy. But there's some flaws there, are set pieces, all right? Set pieces. Keep an eye on the set pieces. Make sure that Licha Martinez or El Cuti Romero don't commit fouls in the corners of the 18, because that's when James Rodriguez's star power is going to come to place. And when you got a guy like James, that at the level that he's playing, and you give an opportunity to him to take a set piece 25 yards, 30 yards out, I think that's going to be the difference right there, how you can beat El Dibu Martinez, because his positioning on set pieces with the ball, they're not the best. So if you go ahead and check him out, the set pieces, he's not that great. Penalties is a different story. But the set pieces, the angle sometimes his positioning is not the best. So I think that James Rodriguez and El Toto Lorenzo, they're gonna try to elaborate something to try to create set pieces from those angles, from the left corner from the right hand side corner of the 18, outside of the 18.
One more question, and thanks for hanging out and doing a little extra time. The fourth hung up the banner with the light on it, and I was just like, forget it, I'm breaking the board. James, we've been talking a lot about James this tournament. Someone obviously has got to be cutting a big check to Sao Paulo to get him out of there after this tournament's over, right?
Yeah, most likely. But I don't know who yet. They're not bidders, but he probably is going to leave. He probably is going to leave Sao Paulo. I don't know if he's going to go back to Europe. I don't know. Maybe. Hey,
brother, there are folks in our footprint that are like, get James to Atlanta United yesterday.
I would love it, man. I think because he's 33? Yeah. He's 33. Bring it on.
What are you calling this weekend? How many matches are you calling this weekend, or do you get a weekend off?
I don't have my schedule yet. Usually they give it to me Thursdays afternoons. So, but most likely I'm gonna miss both finals, man.
Whoa.
Most likely I'm gonna miss more the two finals because I know I'm checking the schedule. And Peñarol is playing in what's the Peruvian League starts this weekend. Starts tomorrow. Kicks off tomorrow. The Clausura. So it's gonna be a lot of games. And when there's a lot of games, we got like 5 games on Saturday and 5 games on Sunday. So yeah, it's most likely I'm gonna miss. If not both finals, I'm gonna miss one of them for sure.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about it again next Thursday. It's always fun to have you come on because I know a lot of folks coming into this tournament that have fanatis like yours truly, who will watch GOL TV like yours truly, who know your voice and know your approach and know your love of the sport, finally have a chance to sit there and put a face to the voice and get to hear you speak about the game itself. And so it's been fun so far. And I know we're going to talk again next Thursday to keep it rolling because, frankly, I enjoy talking to you on Thursdays, and we can talk about whatever we're talking about. But as always, my friend, thank you for going extra time today. We didn't have to go to PKs, but we went extra time, and thank you for your patience and your education, as you always are, my friend. It's great to catch up with you. Great to see you. Have great calls this weekend. May the pipes be with you. May the pipes be with you the entire weekend. And we will catch up with you again next Thursday. I appreciate your time.
Hey, John, thank you. Appreciate it, man. I got a lot of fun talking to you, and a big hug for all the fans here on Soccer Down Here Network, man. Appreciate it.
Love it. All right, we'll catch up with you next Thursday at 10 o'clock. Go get your coffee and watch everybody else do burpees on their plazas.
All right, man. Thank you, John. See ya.
All right, there goes Nino. It's always great to catch up with Nino Torres. I mean, he's a cool dude. I mean, he's a cool dude first and foremost. And now to have a cool dude as a part of what we're doing, as we're kind of breaking down the Copa, and we can give an education at the same time and have fun while we do it. It's great to have Nino come in. That reminds me, I got to get him a scarf. I got to get Nino a scarf that he can hang in his office. I got to figure out how to do that. So, yeah. So since he's still in the green room, WhatsApp me your address and we can get that figured out. So there we go. I've sent the official word to the SDH Network Postal Service. We need to get Nino's address to get him a scarf that he can hang in the office. Okay, we do have some news that we got to get into. Signing with Atlanta United 2. We'll go into that. Atlanta United is at practice. Fabrizio Romano is saying things, all of this stuff that's going on. All right, so let's get into practice this morning. And Doug is there. Pedro Amador is training with Atlanta United. Jamal is training also. Doug doesn't know how much Jamal is going to do. Mosqueda is working out with a trainer this morning. So Mosqueda is off to the side. Jamal is training, and Pedro Amador is training. So those are the training notes so far from Doug Robertson of the AJC. Maddie is there, and she will have a post-training report. So keep an eye out on all of your SDH social media networks for Maddie's post-training report. And she'll let you know the lay of the land, and she'll have the report later on. Later this afternoon. So just keep an eye out, set your notifications, and you'll find out what's going on at practice with who is speaking before everybody heads to Montreal, before they turn around and head back and get 2 matches in before the All-Star window and Leagues Cup, which is coming up sooner than we know it, because Montreal this weekend, come back, midweek weekend again. Wednesday, it's NYCFC at Mercedes-Benz, and then Saturday, it is Columbus Crew. Then you get a couple days off, and then the 26th is the beginning of Open Cup, and then the twos are on the 27th. They are in Huntsville. So speaking of the twos, you had a signing this morning, and it was where is it? I had my signing up this morning in all of my notes. And so, of course, what do? I put all my emails away. But the twos had a signing this morning, and you're bringing in a score. And so that's news for Atlanta United 2 fans that you're bringing in Rodrigo Neri. That came out at 10 o'clock this morning, and it's a free transfer from Valencia's academy. So the word from the twos, signed forward Rodrigo Neri on a free with a contract through the 25 MLS Next Pro season. Most recently played for Valencia CF's Juvenil A, their U19 side, after joining in February of this year. Eligible to play when the secondary transfer window opens on July 18. Quote from Javier Perez, the director of methodology. Thrilled to welcome Rodrigo, eager to watch his development and impact on the squad during the next year and a half. Great potential, wealth of experience through his time in Spain with U.S. youth teams that will help lift the second team and the players around him. Background on Neri. Past few years developing in multiple La Liga and La Liga Dos academy systems. Began his professional career when he joined Atletico Madrid in 2021. Worked his way through Atleti's academy system. 20 goals, 11 assists in his first year with the club, getting the opportunity to train with the first team before joining Valencia back in February. International stage, birthplace of Miami, and he has triple citizenship, Spain, U.S., and Venezuela, but he's represented the U.S. at the U19 and the U23 level. In 2023, selected to the 18-man roster to represent the U.S. at the Pan Am Games in Chile, helped lead the U.S. to a fourth-place finish in the competition. Appeared in all 5 matches, had a goal against Colombia to send the U.S. to the semis. 7 goals, 13 appearances for youth national teams, eligible also to represent Spain and Venezuela. So Rodrigo Neri is being added to the front line for Atlanta United 2. And so tomorrow we will get the chance to catch up with the head coach, Steve Cook, and we will have that interview for you in the pregame show on Sunday. Atlanta United 2, Columbus Crew 2, and that one will be, I think it's a 7 o'clock start, 7:30 start, so we'll have a pregame half hour before, but home match, if you can't make it, this is the only home match in a while, and I think it's the only home match again this month, and so there's not going to be another home match until August, and the calendar turns. Remember, Atlanta United had 7 of their first 8 at home, and now they're in this stretch of 7 of 9 on the road. This is one of the home matches. This is, I think, that second home match of the 9 that we're talking about here. But Rodrigo Neri at 19 is now in the fold for Atlanta United 2 and for MLS Next Pro coming up in the next year and a half under contract. Word from Fabrizio Romano this morning, and this is from about an hour ago. And once again, all the stuff is reports until the 18th. According to Fabrizio Romano, Atlanta United director landed in Italy to hold direct talks for Alexei Miranchuk. Atalanta want €15 million after the initial proposal, and this is from Fabrizio Romano, The initial proposal still below their expectations to let Miranchuk leave. Atalanta is also keeping talks active for Matt O'Reilly with Celtic. The initial bid, according to Tom Bogert, who's now over at Gimme Sport, he reported Tuesday the initial bid for Miranchuk was around $10 million. 15 million euro translate to about 16.3. So now there's obviously some space between the Bogert report and the Fabrizio Romano report. And so we'll see what happens with, apparently, according to Fabrizio Romano, Atlanta United front office representation in Italy to have direct talks with Atalanta to discuss perhaps the idea of Alexei Miranchuk, the attacking midfielder, come and play with Atlanta United. So we'll see what the discussions are involving Fabrizio Romano. And I know that one of the things that was going on the Twitch pitch, Miguel Delaney at the Independent has said that the U.S. has made, and this goes back to our conversation that we had with Bart, that the U.S. has made Klopp a top target for manager, made initial approaches through intermediaries. So Miguel Delaney reporting that this morning after, once again, Matt Crocker mentioned yesterday that the search is already ongoing. So according to Delaney, the Independent understands initial contact has been made with Klopp over the possibility. U.S. will co-host the World Cup, obviously Canada, Mexico. Let's see. The former Borussia Dortmund boss suggested when his departure was confirmed that he intended to take a break from management, having been, quote, running out of energy, end quote. Obviously, it's a different challenge for an international manager. And so it looks like initial conversations through intermediaries is the best way to describe what is going on involving perhaps Jurgen Klopp and any discussions with the U.S. men's national team. Like we said with Bart, even if there is no interest whatsoever, you still want him to do the interview. You still learn as an organization about doing the interview with big guns like a Jurgen Klopp and what their expectations are and salary and things like that. I mean, legitimately, you could have a situation with Jurgen Klopp sit there and say, I want $10 million a year. But at least you know what you're getting into the conversations with when you have some kind of a heavy hitter on the board. So we'll see what the deal is involving any kind of conversations with all of that. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and what to watch, where to watch it, all that kind of stuff that's going on before we get into saying hi to everybody in the Twitch pitch and going over conversations. The topics that are on your mind this morning, I know that a lot of it has to do with Berhalter, Atlanta United, and all that kind of stuff. Light day today, just the two matches in MLS Next Pro. They are on season pass. It is Philadelphia Union 2 at Chester taking on Chattanooga FC. That's at 6 o'clock. And then at 8 o'clock, Dynamo Dos is taking on Los Verdos. So it is Copa Tejas, MLS Next Pro style. Houston Dynamo 2 hosting Austin FC 2. That's at 8 o'clock. So that's what you're looking at with all of that. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We had a bit of a discussion with who's going where, who's doing what, and all that kind of stuff. So let me get into the and this is what I always do is I go to the BBC. The BBC will give the good run of all of the different places and all the different folks, and you are in that kind of a framework. But we always say check your sources in these kinds of situations. PSG set to rival Manchester United in the race to sign Benfica's midfielder Joao Neves. Barcelona have agreed to a deal in principle for Nico Williams from Athletic Bilbao. Manchester United, keen to complete the signing of Matthijs de Ligt as quickly as possible after the Euro. They're also planning to bring in midfield reinforcements before considering offers for Scott McTominay. You can listen to Drew in the 3D and find out what his thoughts are on all of the things going on with his beloved United. Arsenal have accepted a loan offer from Lazio for their 24-year-old fullback Nino Torres with an obligation to buy between £6 and £7 million. Chelsea are not interested in triggering Dani Olmo's £50 million release clause at Leipzig. Jacob Greaves completed his Ipswich medical ahead of a move from Hull, potential move. Liverpool, Bayern Munich, and Real Madrid, possible destinations for Adrien Rabiot, who's a free agent after his Juve contract expired last month. Marseille interested in Arsenal's 25-year-old striker Eddie Nketiah. Bayern want to sign Xavi Simon from PSG. Monaco rejected a €30 million bid from Forest for Youssouf Fofana, who has since agreed with terms with AC Milan. And Joao Palhinha looks like he has completed the move because I think they've held up the jersey. So Joao Palhinha's move is complete from Fulham to Bayern Munich. All right, let's get into the Twitch pitch and see who is in this morning. And once again, thanks to all of y'all for having great conversations in the Twitch pitch and with us and with everybody. So good morning, Alex. Morning, Abby. And like I said, I guess what I should do before we get out of here, this is a different house. It's a different rental. And we got in yesterday because we still didn't have any running water in house number 1. Let's see. When did we, we had the full day without water and we were like, okay, we'll see when you can fix things because we like the house. They hadn't fixed it. And so by 12:30 yesterday afternoon, it was a situation where we were like, yeah, we probably should move. And so now we're in a second house up here in the mountains. We are here today and leaving tomorrow morning. Remember, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock start. Weekend Whip Around starts at 8. Logan Foster, the head coach of Tennessee SC, is going to be joining us. They play North Carolina Courage in the national semifinal on the right-hand side. And so we'll have that interview up, and we'll have all of the programming that we traditionally do when it comes to our other leagues, all the USL content, USL Championship, League 1, League 2, USLW, USL Championship, League 1, League 2, NPSL, and WPSL. We'll be looking at all of those and getting you ready for playoffs and postseason and all those kinds of things. So keep an eye on that and set your notifications for all of that programming. And Abby, I'm guessing that it was a little slow to react this morning, probably because we are in the mountains and we're surrounded by trees and that kind of a thing. So that would not surprise me one bit. Morning Ropes, morning Will. And I got to get into the Twitch pitch and take care of the bots. But yeah, we had a double bot this morning. Morning Abby. Yesterday, how critical the discussion was about the Open Cup game when we had Tyler on, it's pretty critical. It was pretty critical. And so that was basically what we had a lot in hour number 1. And you end up with, an opportunity lost. And so we got into that this morning. And obviously the show in and of itself, you can listen to Tyler's segment. I pulled it separately. So if you want to go back and listen on the app, you can. Yesterday it was a full show with Tyler, and then we had a bit of a discussion with it as well in the second hour, and then we had a couple of coaches joining us yesterday. But pretty much the Tyler segment in hour number 1, and then the second half hour that followed in hour number 2, we spent a lot of time on it, and we spent a lot of time on economics and what to look at when it comes to possibilities of players and how much budget you would have and what you can invest in, these kinds of things. And so obviously we mentioned Miranchuk. We mentioned the possibility of more money being available if the Ezequiel Barco transfer goes through from River to Spartak Moscow. And then with that sell-on that was attached, then you end up with the political aspects of that transaction and what River would have to do. Do you end up making it, as Nick suggested yesterday, do you make it something along the lines of a player? And they have one of their there's been striker discussions with Borja, their early 30s striker, being available on the market. Do you sit there and say, okay, give me less and give me a player, and you build it that way? And I'm sure that everybody and their mother's looking at Hamas, and that's why I brought that up with Nino. So yeah, we had the conversation about Open Cup, and it's not going to end anytime soon. Also, yeah, and so Tom's like, I feel bad for anybody who missed Uruguay and Colombia last night. Like I said, FS2 ran it this morning, and if they're smart, they'll run it into the ground because it was a fantastic match. And yeah, Ropes, we did dial it back to 0, but that was why I also wanted to get into the idea of security and the seating chart. And it's a bit of a wake-up call for any agency getting ready for venues for the 26 World Cup and the 25 Club World Cup, actually. So you've got this tournament this year, the Club World Cup in 25 to get you ready for the World Cup in 26. So we'll see what happens. And you know, Tom, that was why I wanted to bring up what you had asked about players. It will be interesting to see if Nunez or anyone else gets suspended, because I think there were like a dozen players by some reports that had made their way up into the stands. So it was violent, it was ugly, and I do wonder, you know, if you have when these suspensions, you assume, are handed down, if they take into account what Jimenez said in the post-game interview and what evidence will be presented. So, or is it just, you know, you got your red card, Nunez not available to you in the Copa America final, and then, you know, is it time served or something like that? So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Morning, Abby. Morning, Emilio. And let's see. Yeah, morning, Will. And then that Will has already kind of alluding to a Berhalter situation. Morning, Wiley. And Wiley, to your point, you know, bringing Emma Hayes in. And this is a point that Abby's been making in the past, you know, a Serena Wiegman or in Emma Hayes. Why hold yourself to a male head coach if sometimes the best coach out there is a female? To have her in consideration for something like this, I just wonder who the First Nation will be to do something like that on a national level. I think it will be really interesting. Let's see. Morning, OG. And yes, the 1,000% accurate photo that Roger Bennett had with Klopp and the U.S. shirt. And yes, OG says Berhalter in Atlanta would be the storyline American soccer needs in U.S. soccer's new backyard. Oh, the intrigue! And then on to MLS Cup, and you get your popcorn eating gif right there. Let's see. I'm trying to see who else I have missed. Morning, DM Tim. Yes, soccer version of The Office, the OG. The Berhalter part of the discussion, I had anticipated that was going to be in there. Let's see. Morning, Will. Morning, Tom. Yes. And mentioning coaches, OG says Google, I guess you go Ansem Hervé Renard. So handsome Hervé Renard, but it's Ansem Hervé Renard, I guess, in our case. So yes, Hervé Renard definitely would be a true handsome man who's not afraid to go 3 buttons down on a white dress shirt when he's coaching on the sidelines. So Will says that Hervé is the most attractive gentleman available. Let's see. Yes, everybody has a price. Just ask Ted DiBiase that. We've always done that. And Will, when you mentioned Cherundolo, that's why I wanted to mention Cherundolo as a part of the discussion. Ropes with FTB. Let's see. Morning, Commando. And Commando with the question, could U.S. soccer even afford Klopp? I would think, and I would guess, that if it came down to it and he's like, you know, pay me $10 million a year and I'll do it for a year and a half or 2 years. I'm sure that much like what they did in Canada, and that's what, you get the sponsored tenureship, the sponsored professorship, as Bart has phrased it. You get something like that, You can get look, and Bart said you could get him a couple of car dealerships and things like that and make it a perpetual money thing. But no, I'm sure that there would be ways to sponsor something like that, give him an NIL deal, make something like that happen. So much like I think the Canadians opened the door to something like this. So we'll see what is there. And I think that Will, to be perfectly honest, I think that you're spot on. I think that the last gig he takes is the German national team. I think that that's honestly where he's going. But yeah, I think picking and choosing, and Will is even saying, get him an expansion MLS team, give him the Beckham deal to be the head coach of the men's national team. And everybody's like, get him an expansion team in Huntsville. Will's like, it's got a big get man diaspora. Yes, just win, baby. That's what folks are looking for right now with the men's national team. And that was why we mentioned David Wagner, Will, because you brought him in. Morning, Tom. Morning, Tom Cato. And thanks for dropping in this morning. And the notes on the Miranchuk conversation. So we were having that idea to the fourth as to the forum as well this morning. Will says, I'm about the age of Pulisic, McKinney, and Adams. Gio is younger than my little brother. And let's see. Tom wants to know about Pedro Amador not being able to train with the club without a visa. I would imagine so. I said I would imagine that that's how this works. It's the International Trade Certificate and the P1 visa. And so, I mean, if he is out there, according to Doug, to let me see how Doug has this phrased with Amador. But yes, when Amador was brought in, it was pending training today with Atlanta United. But Doug is not saying if it's by yourself or if it's with the team, and I don't know if that makes a difference. But once again, it's P1 visa, international trade, the ITC and the P1 visa. Those are the two phrases that pays. But I would imagine that yes is true. Yes, Will, as Patrick Swayze says, be nice. Be nice. By the way, Dalton should never have had another remake. He should never have had another remake. Never. Roadhouse should have been Roadhouse. Alex, Tata said it's about staying in the same place too long. How many times can I say the same thing to the same people? Absolutely true. Because there are times when the message gets stale. And then you just have to figure out and engage that moment. Will says CONMEBOL in the middle, Central America and CONCACAF, not dissimilar. CONCACAF has higher quality and more eyes. I mean, it's been a fun watch, and I'm glad that things are in a position where you can watch them these days. You can turn, you can hit a button, and you can watch Copa America, even if it is in another country. Fox now being the group that is the one that wants to do events. Copa America is certainly an event. Tom from the rumor mill, Manchester United is going to increase the offer for Jared Branthwaite to $50 million plus a player. Okay, $50 million plus a player for Jared Branthwaite. I wonder who the player could be, and that will be interesting to see how that continues to evolve. Abby says about the situation in Charlotte after the match last night, blame the promoters for 1, not preparing the local venue security, and 2, not being prepared as a whole. And she's saying to do it like you do it for the EPL with a total separation. It might come down to, that's, I think that's what your lesson is here. You look at the Euros and you see fan color. You see them all in groups. And you might have the occasional different color when it's attached to a particular side, but you have the blocks of the fans and the teams. But that was a Colombian venue last night in Charlotte. There was a lot of folks. And if you missed Jess and Nico on Atlanta Soccer Tonight, go back and listen, and you can go back and listen to their perspectives because they were in the building, and we're going to try and catch up with Nico once his plane lands and try and get his perspective about everything, and then talk a little Major League Soccer with him tomorrow. We might end up running that in hour number 1 with the 8 o'clock start, and then have that as a part of everything that is going on in the morning. Discussing Argentina, where Nino said that Argentina is probably a little overrated. Abby was at Argentina, Canada. Didn't think they played well. Canada was just worse. Yeah, they were not. They were not clinical, as they say. So, when it comes to Atlanta United, give me an 11. Atlanta United, give me an 11 of solid, experienced players who can be coached into a cohesive unit. Don't need a PT and Almada who arrive with one foot out the door already and are by nature the focus of your play style through which everything has to be forced. And Abby's like, that's what Garth wants, to create a roster with stability in contracts so folks can stay a while. So let's see, with Tom and Abby, Tom and Abby, Will is like Tom and Abby going back and forth about Amador. Will's hopefully looking to see everybody in Huntsville at the end of the month. And with BJ Callahan coming into Nashville, yesterday was Barra's last day in Huntsville. Yes, and Abby, this is absolutely true. What I may do is I may try and flip the curtain here in just a little bit before we go so you can see what I'm looking at. There is a nice deck for the boss to have her opening her morning cup of coffee. That is absolutely true. Tom, when is USL stuff covered? All the time. So if you learned some potential USL club stuff coming to Manchester, New Hampshire, shoot me a link. We can do some digging, and we can do it in the news and notes. But absolutely, hey, USL. Look, I mean, we always talk USL. We're never afraid to talk stuff. So let's see. Oh, Abby's got an MLS status update here. So let me see if I can find out what's going on in Major League Soccer. Is it straight up MLS? Is it a straight up MLS thing? I'm kind of, like I said, I'm flying. I'm dealing with like a bunch of different devices and trying to figure out. Okay, so MLS has a Caleb Wiley interview sit down with Jillian Sakovits that is now up. Okay, so that's very cool. So Caleb is sitting down with Jillian. And so if you want to watch that whole episode, follow the links, etc. And so Caleb catching up with Jillian about Paris. So very, very cool stuff there. And Adelson Malanda has signed a new contract with Charlotte FC through 26 with an option for 27. In the Open Cup last night, weather delayed all to hell, and Sporting Kansas City ended up beating FC Dallas. And so it is Indy 11 going to Sporting, and it is LAFC who beat New Mexico United and Seattle who beat Sacramento. And so it's LA and Seattle, Indy 11 and Sporting. And so that is your last that's your last four. And it tied at 1 in the 111th minute in front of what looks like about 12 people. 111th minute, Danny Rosero scores, and that was how Sporting Kansas City won. I literally got the email for that particular game because you end up with you'll get like press releases. And the press releases from teams and things like that, you end up with times. I mean, post-match press releases, they come up. I got my post-match press release from Sporting Kansas City at 3:30 this morning. That's how late into the night the match went, and that's how deep into the night the match went. So it was late. First off, it was weather challenged. Point 2, and then point 3. It went late into the night because it was 111th minute, which is what I'm sure a lot of folks wanted. And like I said, you look at the highlights from the matchup last night after the game resumed, there were maybe a handful of folks in the supporter section at Children's Mercy and behind what was going on. But it was just, it was nuts to get a press release at 3:30 this morning about what happened. What happened last night in U.S. Open Cup. So, so it was like a 3:30 release of a press release last night. And so Tactical Manager does the Lord's work for us. Cheapest Copa America final ticket at Hard Rock. The get-in price for the Copa America final, Argentina and Colombia. No real surprise. $21.97 get-in price. $2,200 is your get-in price for the Copa final. Most expensive, $5,500. Sideline suites close to $100,000, according to, and I'm guessing this is secondary market. So, get-in price for the Copa, $2,200. Most expensive seats, $5,500. Suites close to $100,000 at the Hard Rock. Hard Rock. And obviously, Unc, just be safe. Unc is letting us know that there's a wildfire down the road out on the West Coast, up to 11,000 acres. Just be safe, please. That's all we want. Just be safe, and hopefully that the winds will take care of it and roll it upon itself, and it will squash itself out when it comes to this wildfire that Unc is dealing with. But no, just more than anything, Unc, just be safe. And obviously just know that everybody's thinking about you and making sure that everything goes in directions that does not harm anyone. And so just be safe and keep us posted on things about the wildfire out there in the West. Okay. Tomorrow morning, once again, it is 8 o'clock start tomorrow because they kick us out of the house at 10 o'clock. And so it will be Logan Fisher, the head coach at Tennessee SC, at 9. We'll see if our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring are not traveling the planet or are doing things with youngins and summer camps and things like that. But it is an 8 o'clock start and a 10 o'clock out. What I might do is recording Nico when he lands. We'll probably run that in the 8 o'clock hour. And we'll do weekend whip around in the 8 o'clock hour. Logan Fisher from Tennessee SC as they get ready for North Carolina Courage. That's at 9 o'clock Eastern. See if our friends from Beyond Goals can join us at 9:30, out at 10 o'clock, so they don't throw us over the back ledge or anything. But thank you. Oh, well, that's right. I forgot I was going to show you guys what it looks like here. So hang on just a second. So the only downside for those of you who are watching on Twitch is that the spacing in this particular casa is kind of tight. And so I'm in the alternate bedroom, and what it does is show you. All right, so there, as audio boards break. All right, so the iris is going to kind of freak out a little bit here, but there, that's the outside. And you go that way a little bit, and there's a lake, I think, behind some of the trees. But yeah, that's your greenness that is here outside the house. And so that is where we are for yet another day here at house number 2, that we finally have made it into a house in a stable environment with running water. And I'm hoping that everyone on the mountain near house number 1 has running water back. They were supposed to get it back by last night around midnight. So we'll see what happens. But that is where we are for today. You see a bear. And so that's where we are. Yes, running water is key. So we'll be back in civilization tomorrow afternoon. But thanks for enjoying the day with us. It was stacked. Carlos Rubio, the head coach of Hickory FC. Dale Parker, the head coach of Appalachian FC. Bart hopping on SoccerForUSPod at Bartimus Prime 19 to talk about Berhalter. And then Nino to come on to talk about Copa America. All of those segments, the NPSL segment, and that'll get clipped and put on the app. Then Bart's segment will get clipped, put on the app. Nino's segment clipped, put on the app. So you've got all that coming later today. And like I said, we'll try to record with Nico and run that early in the morning tomorrow. And it's great to see everybody. Great to have the conversations that we always do. And we'll do it again tomorrow in a little less than 22. And we'll get you ready for the weekend because there's a lot going on. It's the twos. It's Atlanta United. It's Major League Soccer. It's the Euros. It's the Copa. Choice D, all the above. Well, it's like I said, and we got dinner reservations in town tonight because we're near Blue Ridge. We're like 10 minutes away from Blue Ridge, like out that way and then up. So it's all good. 8 a.m., 21. Yeah, thank you, Abby. Thank you for the correction. Yeah, because, so a little less than 21 hours because of the early start time tomorrow. God, I'm going to hate that. All right, so we'll be back at it again in a little less than 21 hours since Abby is correct. We'll do it again, get you ready for the weekend here from 8 o'clock on tomorrow, 8 to 10, and we'll have some fun. So thanks for once again. Very, very busy news day. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff we had to cover. We'll be doing it again tomorrow. For everybody here at SDH, thanks to all of you guys for dropping by as you always do. Mucho platiel, play it safe. And what that means is I've got to find what's what from GPB News. I mean, I do like a daily Copa thing. What did I do with what? Oh yeah, Alex. I was doing daily Copa updates, and they wanted me to do those kinds of things. And when I find them, I retweet them, and it's so I've been doing Copa updates. But yeah, I did like a running diary. Sorry for this coda, but it's a coda on the Copa. But I did it's like a running diary of the whole tournament, and when there was something big that happened, they would, like the U.S. played, I would do a storyline, things like that. So all of those things going on, yeah. So it was a running diary, and I'll have obviously one more entry, and they might, who knows, they might have me do something on Berhalter at this point, but we'll keep an eye out for it. Once again, a little under 21 hours. We'll be back at it again at 8 o'clock tomorrow. And heading back to civilization. So thanks to all of y'all, as always, for being a part of our family here at the SDH Network in the morning show. Let me find my banner, then let me whistle us and get us out of here so we can all go to lunch.